My name's Councillor Nora Lamont and I'm the Deputy Mayor of Maroondah. I'd like to offer you a warm welcome to Maroondah City Council's annual International Women's Day breakfast. It's wonderful to see so many people eager to start the day with their friends and colleagues. Maroondah City Council, in the spirit of reconciliation, acknowledges the traditional custodians of the land on which we are gathered today, where Indigenous Australians have performed age-old ceremonies. We pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging. This breakfast is an opportunity for all community members, both men and women, to celebrate International Women's Day, which is on Monday the 8th. I'd like to welcome this morning Jackson Taylor, the member for Bayswater, and Vicky Knight, representing the Honourable Bruce Atkinson, member for the Eastern Metropolitan Region. Our Maroondah City councillors, the Mayor Kylie Spears and her daughter Amy, Councillor Mareike Graham, Councillor Tony Dibb, Councillor Mike Simon and his wife Cheryl, Councillor Susie Stojanovic and her daughter, Councillor Tessa Demonte, Councillor Rob Steen and his wife Linda. I'd also like to welcome Steve Kozlowski, the CEO of Maroondah City Council, and his lovely wife Marg. And also the directors of Maroondah City Council, Marianne D. Giulianardo, Andrew Foe, Adam Todoroff and Phil Turner. And also a very warm welcome to Anne Hubbard, one of our Freemen of the City, Anupa Shah, our 2021 Citizen of the Year, and Lachlan Kennedy, our 2021 Young Citizen of the Year. If we could give them all a round of applause, thank you. I'd also like to say thank you for your understanding in our venue change, which was due to a delay in the planned refurbishment at the Carolika Centre. We hope that the location change didn't inconvenience you too much. And the room does really look lovely, so I think it's going to be okay. And due to a restriction on numbers in our function spaces, we do have a smaller audience today than we would normally have, as many of you who have come before would realise. However, we'll be filming today's event, so please let your friends and colleagues know to look out for a video on our website and our social media channels so that they too can enjoy today's presentation. I'd now like to introduce our Mayor, Councillor Kylie Spears, to speak about the significance of International Women's Day and, of course, to introduce our very special guest speakers. Please give her a warm welcome.
Thank you, Nora. Good morning, and may I add my thanks to each of you for joining us today for our annual International Women's Day breakfast. We're thrilled to be able to come together once again and celebrate women's strength and resilience, something which we've certainly relied on in the last 12 months. I would just like to reflect for a moment, though, on the challenging year that we've actually experienced. Firstly, it's actually been a year since we held our last breakfast. Oh, who knew? But last year, as Nora said, it was our biggest event we've held, 333 people at Carolika. And we had no idea, though, that literally within 10 days, COVID-19 was going to impact how we lived, how we interacted as a community, and bring so many changes and challenges and consequences to what we were doing. So the event last year was actually the last activity that Carolika hosted. And while they've continued to provide thousands of Meals on Wheels for our community here in Maroondah, as well as in Knox, they've been closed to events and to our community for the past 12 months. So Carolika's doors will actually open again at the end of this month. And so I encourage you all to actually have a look at their new website and come along to see some fabulous shows in 2021. I'm very proud that our council has continued to provide the majority of its services during the past 12 months. And in addition, we implemented a range of support services for our community, residents and businesses. These have included things such as the Be Kind Maroondah campaign, which encouraged our community to be kind to yourself, to others and to our local businesses. We had Maroondah Connect, a phone service which connected people in need, often for the first time due to changed circumstances, to a range of support services available locally. we had Knit One, Warm one of my favourites, a partnership with our local community houses that saw hundreds of knitted scarves and beanies, mittens and blankets donated to help those in our community who were sleeping rough or struggling financially. We had Maroondah Moments photography project, which saw people take photos of things and places that made them smile. And then we shared them on our social channels to connect and inspire others. The development of our recovery plan based on extensive feedback from our community. We had input from over 3,000 of our local residents, informing and engaging using a range of print, online and digital channels. And more recently, I'm sure some of you would be seeing the effects of our Sunflower Effect project, which encouraged residents to plant sunflower seeds in their gardens to bring hope and brightness to their streets and neighbourhoods. There were thousands of seeds given out. And I'm sure if you're walking out and about in Maroondah, you'll actually see some sunflowers popping up. I've seen some myself. While Council's been doing what it can to support our community, I'm sure each of you have been playing a role within your communities, be they the schools, businesses, family or friendship groups. This year's theme for International Women's Day, which as Nora mentioned is actually Monday, is Choose to Challenge. And while we've certainly been challenged over recent times, this theme is intended to celebrate the tremendous efforts by women and girls around the world in challenging gender bias and inequality. These efforts reach back into the early 1900s, when International Women's Day first emerged in Europe and the United States. In celebrating International Women's Day, we pay tribute to the campaign by ordinary women for an improvement in poor working conditions, for equal wages, and for the right to vote. As we've mentioned, the path to women's equality has been long and it's been challenging. And I'd like to take you through a couple of the stages that give us an important focus on how we can actually help forge the gender agenda together. It started in 1800s, as we talked about. In the 1800s and the early 1900s, we had activism. We had women who were activists. They were the suffragettes, the suffragists, and they fought hard for equality. And the focus for them was largely on securing the vote. And if we fast forward a little bit through those 1900s, we come to the 1970s and feminism. We had a widespread feminist action, which saw women rallying, protesting and lobbying hard for inclusion, influence and equality. And the 1980s then saw an array of, and you're going to love the actual comment that they make with it, the Fix the Women programs was what they were called. It's great, isn't it? And while they were well-meaning, in trying to help women become more confident, visible, well-networked and assertive, unfortunately, they also reinforced the notion that you needed to act like a man and fit into an existing patriarchal structure and organisation if you were to succeed, all the while still being a superwoman at home. We all know that one. So, think those shoulder pads, although I have to say, I had a giggle to myself the other day because my daughter arrived home and she had a T-shirt and it had shoulder pads and I went, oh! So, think shoulder pads, think power suits, high heels and loud voices. So I'm sure for some of you, you can really relate to that. And then the 1990s and the noughties focused on organisational development. Maybe if we can change or fix the organisational structure, women will thrive. So the focus really then started to be, for women in the boardroom, really started to escalate, as did more diverse recruiting, inclusive talent pipelines, and attention to our wider diversity groups just beyond gender, such as race, LGBTB+, and so forth. The number of women's conferences and networks also increased significantly and continue to play a really important and necessary role across our countries. In more recent years, we had men as advocates and champions of change, and that's been recognised as a major trend in accelerating women's equality. And so here we are today. I think you would agree that gender-related conversations and activity are certainly on the rise. Back in 2017 and 2018, International Women's Day was the most discussed topic on Facebook by millions. It beat the Super Bowl, it beat everything. Pantone's colour of the year in 2018 was purple, a woman's colour. And I noticed purple around me, but I know for some of you, you might have seen it recently. The inauguration in America was a really big example where we had Kamala Harris, Michelle Obama and Hillary Clinton all in different shades of purple. So it was certainly very obvious there. And everywhere gender is on the mainstream radar and impacting the narrative. Stereotypes and biases are more likely to be called out. So we're moving to a very exciting time in history where the world now expects diversity and inclusion and equity. Last year we strived to be each for equal because an equal world is an enabled world. And now in 2021, it's up to us to choose to challenge and consistently commit to calling out inequity because with challenge comes change. International Women's Day now unites millions of women around the world, and we as a collective here today acknowledge and celebrate the contribution that women continue to make to their workplaces, to their families and to their communities. I'm incredibly proud that in Maroondah, 5 out of our 9 councillors are women, and that our representatives are chosen based on their skill sets and what they offer the community with no gender bias. Council believes that women and men should have an equal opportunity to work in and run for local government. So to this end, we continue to work with our communities to encourage participation and increase the involvement in a number of women in public life. Our CEO reminded me a moment ago and said to me, are you going to mention, the Australian Women's Local Government Women's Association, which is one of those groups that is actually really working towards increasing the involvement in the number of women in public life. International Women's Day is a timely opportunity to recognise that women and girls have made and continue to make a difference in their communities. And today, when you look around and see the wide range of organisations and community groups represented here today, it proves that Maroondah is incredibly fortunate to have so many wonderful women contributing to our community. On your table, you'll find a leaflet with a little more information on International Women's Day. It's got the menu as well, but it's also got a mailing list form. So if you're interested, please fill it out and leave it on your table, and that will a contact for us for next year's event. And if you'd like to join the social media conversation on International Women's Day, please use the hashtag, which is also on your table. As I've already mentioned, over the last year, we've learnt the importance of community and connection. And one of the most powerful ways that we reach people is through our shared experiences, sharing our stories, finding common ground, understanding and hope. And through communication, we build relationships. We support each other and we drive our communities towards greater balance, which brings us to today's guest speakers, 2 wonderful local women, Mandy and Kate. They formed a firm friendship through their similar family experiences, both being the parents of twins with additional needs. They wanted to share their experiences, both the grief and the joys, that come with parenting a child with additional needs. And so in 2019, they launched 2 Peas in a Podcast. They've since created a connection with and an audience of supportive, strong and determined women from all around the world. We're very privileged to have Mandy Hose and Kate Jones with us today. Please join me in warmly welcoming Kate and Mandy from 2 Peas in a Podcast.
Hello, what's up, Maroondah?
Hello, Maroondah!
We are your people. I've been living here for 16 years.
Yeah, we're very excited to be 4 minutes from home.
Yeah, it's the quickest drive I've ever had.
So Mandy and I wanted to say that we are 3135 represent.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how many other postcodes we've got here, but that's our...
Put your hand up if you're from Maroondah.
Are you 3135?
Yeah.
So what we'd like to say is we love living in Maroondah.
Yes.
And we were very proud Maroondah women and so thrilled to be asked to come and speak here today.
And when we started our podcast, we thought, who would want to listen to 2 middle-aged women from Maroondah?
Nobody.
Well, 1.4 million people. So we have a lot to say, and you can't fix us.
No, you can't. We wanted to say, you know how Melbourne's sort of divided by the Yarra? Like, which side of the Yarra are you from? Well, we're from the good side of the Dandenong Creek. Just joking, we love the train park.
Yeah, we sure do. We thought we'd share some of our Maroondah stats with you. So we've had 46 maternal and child health nurse visits between our children. Our children have attended 2 kinders, 4 schools in Maroondah. Kate has done 3,600 school drop-offs. And I've done 2,200, roughly. Kate has bought 604 Cheesy Mite scrolls from Baker's Delight on the way to school.
Mandy has walked up and down her street 10 times a week for 11 years. It really pays off. We've bought 112 Slurpees to bribe kids to go to after-school activities. We've done 800 swimming lessons. We've had 184 scripts filled at the chemist, 40 lots of antibiotics for ear infections and bronchiolitis, 40 sleepless nights due to croup, many trips to Maroondah Emergency Department, and so many trips to the Heathmont IGA that they asked me to direct debit my pay there, and they'd just put me on a credit system.
Unfortunately, Maroondah doesn't have any fenced playgrounds, so we had to go outside and we went to Whitehorse to find a playground that was fenced so that we could take all our twins there, because it's very hard when I went to parks and like Ringwood Lake and I was like, do I get the twin on the road or the twin in the water? So I went there once. We got 5 fines for parking at Heathmont shops, 1 fine for parking outside primary school with a child in a wheelchair after surgery. I shopped at the very old Eastland, the new Eastland, and now the new Eastland. We joined Trim and Tone and Aquanation, and we quit.
We've had 24 scones at MJ's, 100 coffees at the old Barclays, and 30 coffees from the new Milk and Wine. Many sweet potato gyoza at Community and vegetarian spring rolls from Thai Ute. We bought so many presents from the Coffee Apple, clothes at Lalula and gifts at Brolly. We have worked out as well that Ringwood East has the best IGA.
Yeah, I'm there every day. Just come and say hello. We dreamed of a house backing onto McAlpin Reserve. What a beautiful park.
Beautiful.
We walked twin prams up and down Mullum Creek Trail. We watched Eastlink get built. And I love being a part of Vocal Vibes Chorus for 5 years. We were on many kinder and school committees. I had my first NDIS planning meeting, then the second in Ringwood, and many years of early intervention opposite Eastland in the centre there.
Yep.
Yeah.
We have had kids do activities at H.E. Parker Tennis, Heathmont Cricket Club, Auskick, Milo Cricket, Jamie's Academy of Dance, Lawn Bowls and Dance Dynamics.
That's Kate. Me, playgroups, Mainly Music, Kicks Dancing, Ringwood Heathmont Girl Guides, Harlequin, Norwood Heights and now Mullum Netball Club. Swim Like a Fish, thank you Kylie, and Tin Turn Swimming, Ringwood Little Athletics, and my family very proudly started the multi-class team there. We did YABC, Australian Girls Choir, Heathmont Hornets, tennis lessons before school, piano lessons. We bought a uniform for everyone. And they're hardly doing any of them anymore.
We have been with our children through 10 different diagnoses living in the city of Maroondah. We have watched our children really struggle to fit in at school, and we have cried on the walk and the drive home.
We felt extreme loneliness at times, being on the road less travelled. And I'm sure many women here or parents in this room have gone before us in that too, so we acknowledge that.
Yep. And we've spent way too many nights sitting in each other's car in the driveway, way past our bedtime, pouring out our heart and soul, laughing and crying and laughing, talking about our families, about the amazing children that we have, about how we just don't fit in anywhere.
One memory I have in my old house was opposite Tintern Vale Primary, and I had 5 of my friends with their twins, so we had 10 2-year-olds in my driveway because it was concrete, so I didn't want anyone getting muddy. We shut the gates and I made nachos for all my friends. And because we were just monitoring 2-year-olds who some were walking, some were not, I made nachos and I put them on the blue wheelie bin, and we all stood around and ate them, all the women, while the toddlers were just roaming around. And it wasn't until later that we thought, that wasn't very nice, so we were eating off the bin. But when we told that story on the podcast, then our P listeners loved it, and we had a nacho bin day on Zoom.
Yep.
We had people all around the world
Yep.
eating nachos on top of their bins. And we had one lady who didn't realise it was a Zoom, and she ate nachos at her bin without coming on the Zoom.
We also started 2 businesses in Maroondah, Mandy Hoshi Knows Sleep Consultant and Instant Impression Home Staging.
And 2 years ago in May, we sat down on a cold Mother's Day, actually, with absolutely no idea of what we were doing, and we started our podcast, which we called 2Ps, TOO, in a podcast named by our joint paediatrician, Shane, who is in Whitehorse.
Yep,
but we
sorry.
will go there for him.
Yeah. And like the theme of this year's International Women's Day, we chose to challenge ourselves. We thought, probably no one's going to listen. There are so many podcasts, and last year was the year of every celebrity doing a podcast, but we did it first.
Yeah.
And we thought if we could get 30 listeners, 30 people who would connect with us and be our friends, then how amazing would that community be? So we really just talked into the microphones and hoped for 30, and we got over 100 in our first week. And
thanks to our friends who are here.
Thank you. We wanted to combat loneliness. So when you have a child with additional needs or a disability, whether that be visible or invisible, it's really lonely. And as a parent, you can't talk to other parents. You know when you go to new mums group and you're like, oh, I'm breastfeeding, I'm not breastfeeding. Our issues are way different to that, right? Our issues may be we have to let our kids stay home on NAPLAN day so they don't feel excluded. We have to let our children do individual swimming lessons because they're not capable of being in a group of really loud noise.
We have surgeries coming up. We have illnesses.
Yeah,
so many
it's
things.
very, very different. But you don't want to talk about that all the time. And I remember saying to Mandy one day that I had been to the paediatrician, I'd had some news that was a little bit unsettling, I dropped the boys back to school, popped into Barclays for a coffee, now milk and wine, and one of the mums that at my table was like, I just don't know about the new scrunchies with the school uniform. And I was like, I got to find my people. So we started our podcast.
My daughters have a diagnosis of a hemiplegia, cerebral palsy, and even in that world of cerebral palsy, I felt quite lonely, and particularly having twins. So, that was another drive to talk about having twins. And we had our twins prematurely as well,
Yes.
so even that from the beginning was a difference.
Yeah, so we went through the NICU, special care nursery journey, got our babies home. When you
Thank
have
goodness.
little tiny prem babies, if they breastfeed, the strength of breastfeeding makes them lose weight, the effort to breastfeed. So all the things that you're programmed as a mother and a woman, you can't do with these babies. So we just realised that all of that was quite traumatising, but you haven't got time to take a breath because...
2 babies.
You've got 2 babies.
Yeah.
And you've also... I had 3 other children.
Yeah.
Which is insanity, I know. But once we were 13 years down the track and we could take a breath, we thought maybe there are other people that feel like us.
So we put the podcast out, and then this most amazing moment happened when we were listening to Annabelle Crabb and Lee Sales' podcast.
Have you ever listened to their podcast, Chat 10 Looks 3?
The chatters here. And Annabelle had listened to our podcast and went on about it for about 10 minutes. I was sitting on the toilet, like not the toilet, but I was just like, and I was crying.
I was crying.
And then that day we had 10,000 downloads. So the power of her voice, she heard something in us.
Yeah, I don't
know. But anyway, that was a significant change for the podcast.
It really was.
We went up to number 2 in the iTunes chart. We were watching it like 10, 9, 8, what? And just so excited.
Oh, so excited. We couldn't believe it. We still can't believe it, actually.
Yeah.
And because of beautiful Annabelle, we went on Mia Friedman's podcast, which is called No Filter.
That's right.
And we got some more downloads.
Yeah.
And now, which we can't believe, we get 30,000 downloads a week of our little podcast.
Thank you for
Yep.
your peds that listen.
Thank you.
Thursdays,
Thursdays and sometimes Mondays, made in a basement in Heathmont.
That's right, yeah.
With no talent, really.
We have a Facebook page, we have Instagram, loosely on Twitter, and we thought maybe we'll start a group in Facebook where all our listeners can come together and then they can care for each other and we can care for them. So we call it the Two Peas in a Podcast Hangout.
Yep, and we vet people coming in.
Yeah, we check everyone,
Yep.
and it's just been a lovely place of people with children with all sorts of diagnoses because everyone's welcome.
Yep, you can have people that have a diagnosis of dyslexia to parents whose children have life-ending illnesses.
That's right.
And we're all in there together.
Yeah.
And no one feels lonely. The power of that is actually unspeakable. I can't even describe it.
And what's been astonishing is all the professionals, so doctors, nurses, paediatricians, professors.
People, Mandy and I, get asked to go and speak at medical conferences. I just want to say, diploma in nursing.
Diploma in childcare. But we say to them, we are PFESs.
Yeah, we're PFESs.
Yeah, right.
Yes. We've got nearly 16 years.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. We also had we met a beautiful family in there that run merchandise.
Yes.
They said, we'd like to do, your T-shirts and all that sort of bizzo. So,
But you have to, if you run a small business, you'll know that when you want to buy merchandise, you have to actually buy it.
Yes.
Right? So you've got to spend $10,000.
Yeah.
Of that, we had none.
None.
So this beautiful P family who run a merchandise store paid for it all. Mandy and I just get the profit. We don't
Yeah.
have to put any money up
Yeah.
front. So Merch P, as we call him,
everyone's got a P on their name.
even though his name's Luke and he's a massive guy, he actually changed our life because all the Ps can have a little badge or a bag.
We
And
have doctors with lanyards, so
Yeah.
if they're in the hospital, then families can see them and know, oh, okay, you
Yeah.
sort of get a little bit
P
about
friendly.
P friendly, yeah. Last International Women's Day, we did our first live show. So, and that was in Sydney.
Yep.
Um,
And it was funny because we had toilet paper on the table. It's like, this is a bit of a joke, people are buying toilet paper. And then
Boom.
11 months later, not so funny.
so we had a live show. It was going to be in Lilydale, York
Yep.
and Lilydale,
Yep.
and then one in Yarraville, so they were cancelled.
Yep.
So that was a great disappointment.
Yes, everything was
Everything was, it was a time of disappointment, wasn't it?
And when we plan our shows, unlike this amazing breakfast, which is awesome, we do them at a time when P parents can get there.
Yeah.
So we do early evening or afternoon.
I want easy parking. I want people to have time so they can organise their support workers or their carers or their family members. We want to make it easy because we know what it's like to feel like the world is inaccessible.
Yeah, that's right. So there's lots of venues that we can't use
Yeah.
for our live shows, actually, lots and lots. So we're rather limited, but the Ps don't care.
Yeah,
they
they'll
come
come.
anyway. So when we did our live show in Sydney, ABC Sydney were also like, can you come on the radio? And we were
Sure.
like, okay. I mean, why not? And the greatest thing ever, I don't know if you've been to ABC Sydney, but in the foyer are the Play School toys.
Yeah.
And so they're big, like as big as us, these toys. So we got to have photos with them. We saw Dr. Carl. Oh, I can't even
Kate's
tell
like,
you.
Is that Dr. Carl? Is that Dr. Carl? I was like, just stay cool.
We met Osha. Osha came on our podcast.
Yes,
So that was really, really nice. And the most amazing thing we've done in Maroondah is...
Homeschool. 110 days.
Yep, 110 days of remote learning.
Or not learning.
Yeah,
as
not
we
even
like to call it.
remotely learning.
My daughters go to 3 different schools. One is a special school, one in primary school, one in a high school. And
Yep.
so that was probably one of the most challenging times.
Oh, without a doubt. It was really, really, really
can't even
hard.
talk.
No, we can't. Give us another 10 years and
We
we'll talk
tried
about
our very
remote learning.
best, yeah.
I did hear a great joke about remote learning though, which was you can't call it homeschooling because it's not from the homeschooling region of France. You've got to call it sparkling remote learning. So,
We learn about Zoom, we learn about Teams, we learn about all the rest of them.
oh my gosh, so
all
many
three
things.
had different
Yeah.
programs.
Oh, that noise when the Microsoft Teams goes out. The Microsoft have got to change that.
They
We're
do.
all triggered.
Traumatised.
We can't hear that anymore. We did also become new people. So this is Principal Hose and I'm Year 8 Coordinator Jones.
Yes, that's right. So we decided to record 2 podcasts in the week during that time in the second lockdown. So, and what we were doing was getting people to ring into us and tell us, what's it like for you? What's it like for your child? What's it like for your child in mainstream that's funded? What's it like for your children in special schools, SDSs? Who's talking about our children during a pandemic? And so we did that, and we're so proud to be on the record for that.
Yeah.
And we know the Association for Children with a Disability were listening, and they were going to the government and telling them it's really hard for our kids.
Yeah, you got to open the special schools.
Yes.
And you got to let the kids with additional needs go back.
Yeah.
Because it's impossible to have your aide Zoom in. And it's just impossible.
And
but
some of you here are integrated age. You would have lived through that.
You've
Bless
lived through it.
you,
Yes,
the best
bless you.
workers in this country.
It is. The best thing that Mandy and I have is these children with incredible senses of humour.
Yes, we do.
Their timing is impeccable. If you listen to the podcast, you will know that we spend half the time laughing. It's just such a joy. And one morning before lockdown last year, we were getting ready for school. And sorry for the small child here, block your ears. We were getting ready for school and I walked in, and we use pseudonyms for our children, and I just heard from the bathroom, shit, 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 shit. I'm like, what's going on? So I go in and my son Woody's just looking at himself in the mirror. Shit, shit, shit. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm getting all my shits out before school. And I want to give that to you today.
International Women's Day.
International Women's Day. Go into the bathroom,
Get
look
your
at yourself
shits
in
out.
the mirror and get your shits out.
The most astonishing thing, well, probably second most, was that Penguin gave us a book deal.
Unbelievable.
A 2-book deal.
Yeah, 2-book deal.
Thank you. So we wrote our first book in September in that second lockdown.
We did. They said to us we had to have it to them by the end of September. So we were literally, it's recess, quickly, remote, let's type. And Mandy and I wrote the book via Snapchat. I don't advise this, but it just happened. So I'd like send her a Snapchat. Have you done anything about? And she's like, yeah. Do you remember that time?
Filters.
Oh, filters the whole time because we didn't put any makeup on for 9 months.
That's right.
And so we wrote the book and then we gave it to Penguin Random House in September, and they're like, oh, we never thought you'd actually get it to us in that time. So here's us, so stressed. Anyway, if you ask a woman to do something, they'll do it.
They'll do
so
it. That's right.
we handed that book in and they said now they won't take any excuses from any authors because if
Yeah.
we can do it, homeschooling
Anyone can.
kids, yep.
That's right. So the book's called The Invisible Life of Us.
Yep, comes out on the 2nd of July.
Yeah.
We will be doing a book tour, COVID willing.
Yeah. Okay, the biggest astonishment was being nominated for Australians of the Year.
Oh, I can't even tell you. I can't. So I'm at home. My phone rings with an unknown number. And because I have a business phone and a personal phone, but sometimes real estate agents give out my personal number, I'm like, oh, should I answer? Should I just let it go to voicemail? I answered. And this woman said, hi, it's Sue here from the Department of Premier and Cabinet. And I'm like, this is one of my friends just ringing me for a joke. And I was like, okay. And she's like, yeah, we just wanted to let you know that you and Mandy have been shortlisted and you are one of 4 Victorians that have been shortlisted for Australian of the Year. And I just laughed. I just thought, what? Why? I still don't know why.
I was standing out in the middle of my street because my house is small and taking phone calls with 5 people in the house, support workers, dogs, children, husband. So I'd take my phone calls in the middle of the road. It's a no-through road. And I was like, okay. I was laughing. And then,
and then we
she
cried.
was like, this is an extreme honour. And I was like, oh.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But the most beautiful thing about being nominated was we knew we weren't going to win. Look at beautiful Grace who won.
I
So we
know.
just got to enjoy
We
it.
did. We
I
did.
mean, we didn't get to meet Dan.
No. It was
We
all
were-
on Zoom.
We were
And
really
you can-
hoping that we might get to meet the Chief Health Officer.
Yeah, Brett Sutton. Kate's got his mask.
I have got his mask. I've got his calendar.
From Croydon. Wasn't he from Croydon?
I think it is from Croydon, yeah.
There you go.
So, you know, we live in hope.
Yeah.
And we also got nominated in 2 categories in the Podcast Awards. So, I don't know, you probably haven't listened to our podcast. We do a whole episode on awards, right?
Yeah.
And we're not in favour of them. So during lockdown, to be nominated for 2 awards was quite ironic.
Yeah.
So yeah, we think life is its own reward, and you don't have to nominate children every time they sneeze.
Yeah.
But that's our opinion.
So then we hit the 1 million downloads. That was just
It was amazing.
amazing to
Yeah,
us.
yeah. It
Yeah.
still is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't believe it. And then we did this amazing thing. We got a thing called Acast Supporter. So our podcast is through a company called Acast. They just upload your podcast for you and get your money for ads, basically. But they're really great, and both of our contacts there are women, and they really, really support us. So they rang us up and they said, we're going to add a little thing to the podcast called Supporter, and it just means if people want to donate, they can.
like a Patreon, but this is we never wanted our listeners to feel like if they had to pay, then they might miss out on something. You know,
No.
some podcasts are like, pay this, you get extra episodes. We don't have time for that.
No.
So we didn't ever want anyone to miss out.
No.
So it was just if people wanted to give some money, this is how they could.
Yeah, and lots of our listeners
Yeah.
can't both work.
That's right.
So if you have children with additional needs or disabilities, working is really hard. That's why we have our own business,
Yeah.
because we have to be flexible. So we didn't want to make people pay for anything. We're like, okay, so they rolled this Acast supporter out across the world. Now, I don't know if you've heard of My Dad Wrote a Porno. There's some huge podcasts. They're all with Acast and us.
Yeah.
Anyway, Acast rang us after about a week and they're like, your podcast has received more money than any podcast in the world. It still makes me want to cry.
I know, it does
Yeah.
make me want to cry.
Um,
And people write hilarious things. This is for Mandy's Omo that she can't afford it this week, or
Yeah.
this is for a new dress, or this is for Woody's getting his shits out.
yeah, we got Chuppa Chup money because when we were doing Zoom school, a teacher said to all the children, if you don't answer when you come back to school, I'm not going to give you a Chuppa Chup. Now, my boys, the thought of talking on a screen and maybe getting an answer wrong. So one of my beautiful boys has a scribe at school who writes for him, so he's not going to yell out. And so he just looked at me and I was like, don't worry. Doesn't matter. Thank God it was on mute because I may have said something else. And then one of our listeners put in the supporter, $20, buy those bloody Chuppa Chups.
Yeah.
So we got a whole bag. So anyway, we thought, what else can we do with this Acast money? We can't just buy Omo and Chuppa Chups.
And also because we don't want, we wanted to have like a charity arm, but
It's too much work. You can't register a charity either.
But also, like, how do we give back?
Yeah.
But who do we give back to? Because all the people in our tribe have many different children with disabilities and needs. So we came up with
We
this
came up with a booklet. So we've got this booklet which we are launching on Mother's Day of this year. So this year, from the 2nd to the 8th of March, May, is International Pee Week.
We've claimed it. We're calling it P Week.
Pee Week.
So we should say that a P is a parent of a child with a disability.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So, but we have everybody welcome. Some people who are in our P tribe, now you may not like this phrase, but you may be one, are rectums, okay? So we had a parent who has no, it was actually a person who doesn't have any children with disabilities write to us and say, so what are the people called that just sprout shit to you all the time? Are they rectums? And
then
it
it
just
took
stuck.
off.
It just
So
took
people
off.
will come up to us and say, hi, I'm Michelle, I'm a rectum.
Yeah,
And
all
we're
the
like,
time.
Okay.
So we love our rectums,
We love
really. Anyway, so we thought we need to do something. So we've made this booklet. And this booklet is called Letters to You, a booklet of hope for parents. When you go to the doctor or specialist or paediatrician and you
Or
get a
you're in hospital.
diagnosis for
Yep.
your child, you leave with the heaviest heart you can imagine. Because what they tell you is a tiny snapshot of your child and they tell you all the worst case scenarios. That's their job, right? They have to tell you your child has a global developmental delay, your child may never walk, your child may never. When you have a baby, everyone tells you all the mays. Your child might go to university, your child might be sports captain. No one tells you the won'ts. But when you have a child with additional needs, you get all the won'ts. And then you leave and you're looking at that child, or in my case,
That's
little
still my
twins in the
precious
back seat.
baby.
I love
Yeah.
them just as much. They're the same child. So we decided, no, When you get your diagnosis, you get a booklet of hope, right? So that ACAST money, that goes to this. And we've got 7 stories in here from amazing P parents and an adult that lives with a disability to tell people it's actually great. Life's not what you thought it was going to be.
And also, you can belong with us.
Yeah,
so
you're
if you
part
feel
of-
like it's a day where you feel lonely, then you know that we are here.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. And we will support you. So that booklet, we're going to ask you to give us money at the end. You know that's where that's going. And that money will go to that. So
Not new dresses.
no new dresses. So today, before we finish, we wanted to challenge you, just like we've all been challenged for International Women's Day, and we want to call you in. We want to call you into our P tribe, and we are going to tell you a story about a beautiful P, Bryony.
She's a friend of ours, and she's just started actually working at the Royal Children's. And she said she was getting out of her car and she saw her mum getting out of the car with her child, getting the wheelchair out, bags, all sorts of things. And Bryony said, I just thought, what am I going to do? And she said, I went over to the mum and said, how can I help? And then she said, no, hang on, what can I do to help you?
Yeah.
Instead of how can I help? Now make the mum come up with the idea, right?
Yeah.
So, well, what can I do to help you?
Yep. So not just when you see someone struggling, when you see a child, beautiful, beautiful child having a tantrum in the supermarket, that child's not badly behaved. That child is having a sensory overload and they can't cope. This is the greatest thing. You don't have to judge them. And you don't have to
Let's help
judge
us.
their parents,
Let's
okay?
help us.
You really don't. So
If you could have seen me running down the road from primary school every morning, chasing children, carrying people,
Yep.
with crying from the exhaustion of school days. And,
Yep.
and luckily for me, I've got beautiful friends that live here in Maroondah because we are down-to-earth people.
Yep.
And I've had gorgeous friends help me, carry children home for me, bring me meals, drop them at my door.
Yep.
Help with school drop-offs and pick-ups.
Oh,
And
everything.
I'm so thankful.
Amazing community in Maroondah.
Yes.
But what we want to say is you are actually able to go to that parent or carer and say, hi, my name's Kate. What can I do to help you? And if they say nothing, you say, that's fine.
Yeah, don't take it
You
personally.
don't have to walk past. When I had twins with severe ADHD running each way, if someone had grabbed one, I would have wept with relief. So you can actually ask. It's okay. And when we talk about not judging parents, we all do it. We're all a little bit judgy, but it actually changes your whole life. And Mandy and I wanted to say, every time one of you put a Facebook post up and go, oh, tough day at work, hitting the shardy, we won't judge you either.
And some of you might know how it feels to be excluded, and we've had times where our children weren't invited to parties, and
A lot.
But I want you to say, when you do invite our children to birthday parties, you make the whole family happy.
Oh, so
And we put that
happy.
invitation on the fridge, and we
Oh.
say, "Look, you've been invited."
Yep.
And that we go and buy presents
Oh.
like you've never seen before.
You
Right?
will get a really good present
You will
from
get
us.
a great present from us.
Because we
Even
went,
for that, invite us.
yeah, we went through
Even
prep.
2 if you invite the twins.
Yeah, you get 2
No
presents.
one ever invited twins.
No one ever invites twins. And the thing is, you may think our kids don't know they're being excluded. They know. They
It's
know.
like the mums know too.
And the mums know. And we won't hang out with you because you don't want to hang out with our kids. But we just got bloody 1.5 million downloads on our podcast. So we're not horrible people. You might like hanging out with us.
That's right.
So 30,000 people a week are drawn to these conversations.
And it's not just our stories. We have
Oh, no.
lots of women, men, professionals come on our podcast. The first couple are about us. After that,
Yes.
you're sick to death of us.
You really are. So we listen to our podcast if you'd like, but if that you don't want to, that's fine. But please come in, come and be a part of our P tribe. Hang out with us, hang out with our people because they're awesome.
Yeah.
And, we give you permission to get your shits out.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't get that very many places. So we're going to tell you to buy our merch when you leave.
I also,
okay?
I
so that we can support
wanted to
our
say
peers.
a big thank you to Maroondah Council for providing Kim, who is our NDIS liaison, because when I was going through that for the... Oh, hi! Do you remember my family? We were crazy. Yeah. Well, Kim,
Yay!
I I just want to say thank you, Marinda, because when I was talking to other families in other community groups, I was saying, well, our council isn't doing that. And I thought, wow. So thank you, Kim, because you held our hand. And going to that first NDIS meeting is just so overwhelming.
Yep.
And I just want to say thank you, Marinda, for that.
Yeah,
thank you, Kim.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, we will get off the stage and stop annoying you, but we've got merch out the front. It's just tote bags, stickers and little 2Ps pins. That money will go towards promoting this booklet. So you can guiltily shop. Non-guiltily shop.
So thank you very much for having us.
Thank you,
and we're
thank you.
super proud to be here today.
We are.
Thank you.
All right, we've got time for a few minutes, maybe 5, of any questions, if anyone's got a question. Councillor Steen, Rob.
Thank you, Rob. I'm the father of twins.
Welcome.
And a rectum, I dare say. Can I just ask, how do you actually come up with new ideas every week to keep the podcast going?
We find it really hard to chat. We've never been...
It's those pent-up women. We've got so much to say.
We actually choose some really cool topics. We've got
Yeah.
empathy, the R and S word, don't say those words anymore.
Yeah.
We've got all of our years, so newborns, NICU, 2 to 5 years.
Starting school.
Yeah.
We interview, and then we just interview people that want to come on the podcast, plus
Yeah.
all my friends, basically, to
Yeah.
start with. Family members. My dad's an identical twin. He came on one
Yeah.
episode. That was fun.
Yep.
I've got a list. I've got a full list of people. We're booked till June,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. We have no trouble.
no problem. We'll be going for years.
Any other questions that anyone would like to ask? Don't be shy. Yes.
I'm slightly loud, sorry. So I'm actually a member of the sort of P community, the P hangout. So I just wanted to say a massive thank you and just express how amazing these women are. Because I think it can be really isolating and feel really lonely.
Yeah.
And I think there's actually more people on this journey than you realise.
Yeah.
And I think it's until we start having those open conversations about, kids with disabilities, additional needs, even adults.
Yeah, definitely.
Like there's 1 in 5 of us
Yep.
who do.
That's
Yep.
right.
But I think it would be very hard in our workplaces to say, like, who are the 1 in 5 because
Yeah.
people don't want to have that open conversation. So just, thank you from the bottom of my heart for finding a place that it's okay to be me and feel supported and just a lot less isolated and lonely.
Thank you.
We made it for you.
We did.
We've got time for one. Oh, I've got two. 2 hands went up. All right, that's it.
Fight it out.
That's all we've got time for. Anne, our Freeman of the City.
Admire you immensely. We have a support respite, and it's called Biella.
Yes.
And but you just overwhelm me.
Oh, Anne, that's beautiful. That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the important work of Biella. I remember doing a placement there, and then I don't know why I didn't utilise it with my children, and I feel really disappointed that I didn't. Yeah.
One last that we had with the hand up. Yep, but that's then we've got to.
My name is Sue, and I'm an old parent of
Sue.
a adult child with a disability, so I know the journey, and my daughter went to Biella. And the only thing I want to say is, and we started a charity in Maroondah to help people with disabilities and their families, but the thing I implore everybody in this room is, don't overthink approaching us.
No.
You can help.
Yes.
And the littlest, tiniest thing to you is the biggest thing to us. Sometimes
Amen.
putting the bin in.
Yes.
Don't overthink
No.
approaching us
Thank
or
you.
our children.
Very true. Thank you.
Thank you, girls. Thank you, Mandy and Kate, for your moving, loving and inspiring presentation today, and for the honest answers to the questions and just your honesty in how you share. So I thoroughly admire your courage and strength and the wisdom you've portrayed this morning. So please accept. Thank you, my darling. Thank you. Thank you. No, you're welcome. Perfect.